Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the third poem from your book, First Flight. The name of the poem is A Tiger in the Zoo, and it has been written by Leslie Norris. Listen to the poem first. A tiger in the zoo. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. On paths of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The poet George Leslie Norris was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer. A Welsh person is a resident of Wales, a country in southwest Great Britain. Norris is considered as the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary works have won many prizes. He became famous with his first published work, Finding Gold, and won various awards for his poetry. Now coming to the style of the poem, this poem, A Tiger in the Zoo, consists of 5 stanzas, each made up of 4 lines. The rhyme scheme of each stanza is A, B, C, B. There are 2 distinct settings in this poem. The first is the zoo where the tiger is put in a cage, and the second is the jungle, that is the natural habitat of the tiger, which should have been his real place. Now I'll introduce you to the poem. This poem contrasts a tiger in a zoo to a tiger in his natural habitat. It moves from the zoo to the jungle and then back to the zoo again. In his natural surroundings, the tiger is happy and joyful. But in a cage, he's full of anger and frustration. The poet explains the pain and the helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo and is kept away from the freedom of roaming in the wild. Now let us discuss the theme of the poem. The poem revolves around the tiger, which is a proud creature. The poet wants to convey that it is cruel to keep the wild animals in small enclosures of the zoo, away from their natural habitat. They feel angry, helpless, and unhappy, and miss their life and freedom in the environment of the forest. Sometimes the tiger may stray into human habitation, but he only displays his strength and ferociousness. He doesn't harm anyone till he is provoked. The poem shows the great importance of freedom. Like human beings, the tiger too loves and values his freedom. The poet says that human progress should not be at the cost of destroying the natural habitats of untamable and proud animals like the tiger. Now let us move on to the explanation of the poem one stanza at a time. Stanza 1. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on his pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. In this stanza, the poet describes the appearance of the tiger in the zoo and its movements within its cage. He says that the tiger moves up and down the length of his cage. The stripes on his body can be distinguished even when seen from afar, as they are darker in color than the rest of its coat. The tiger walks quietly without making a sound because of his smooth velvet pads underneath its paws. The tiger is able to walk only few steps because of the limited length of the cage. The tiger is full of anger, but it suppresses and controls it because it knows that it is helpless there. Now, the meaning of the new words in this stanza: stalks means to walk with measured steps, usually while following a prey. Vivid means strong and bright. Stripes are the long lines on the body of the tiger. Pads are the soft cushions beneath the paws. Velvet is a soft, smooth cloth. And rage means violent anger. Stanza 2. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. In this stanza, the poet is filled with pity while looking at the imprisoned tiger. He says that the tiger is a born hunter. He says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies so that he could easily catch a deer in order to have it as its food. It would have been lying in the shadows of trees or hiding itself behind long grass so that its prey would not be able to detect its movement. In this way, the tiger would have moved near the water hole where all the animals of the forest come to drink water. There, near the water hole, he would be waiting for some fat deer to pass by so that he could have a heavy feast. Basically, the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in the jungle where he could catch his prey and eat it. But the tiger in the cage cannot do so. Now, the new words in this stanza: lurking means waiting secretly. Shadow over here refers to darkness. Sliding through means moving smoothly and quietly. Plump means pleasantly fat. And a water hole is a small pool of water where animals in the jungles go to drink. Stanza 3. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. In this stanza, the poet says that even though he would prefer the tiger to live in the wild, it is not as if it would lose all touch with human civilization. He imagines what the tiger would do in case he failed to find any prey in his natural habitat, that is the jungle. He says that the tiger would be growling at the edge of the jungle near some village. He would be showing his fangs and claws while moving here and there with the intention of scaring all the inhabitants of the village. He would thus become a cause of terror for the villagers. The poet here gives a hint that if we destroy the natural habitat of tigers, they will be forced to turn to our towns and villages to find their food. Now the vocabulary. Snarling means growling aggressively while showing your teeth. Around means in all directions. Baring means exposing, showing. Fangs are the large sharp teeth, usually of wild animals. Claws are the long curved nails on an animal's paws. And terrorizing means creating fear. Stanza 4. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. In this stanza, the poet stops imagining the tiger's alternate life in the jungle and returns to its real one. The poet sees the tiger caged in a small concrete cell in the zoo like a prisoner in jail. His unbound strength is caged in behind the bars. It is locked in the cage and he walks around arrogantly ignoring the visitors. In spite of all his strength, he is now imprisoned in the cage. He pays no attention to the visitors who come to see him every day at the zoo. Instead of this, the tiger very slowly and silently moves up and down the length of the cage, not paying any attention to the people who have come to see it. Now moving on to the vocabulary. Locked means being locked inside a cage over here. It means imprisoned or confined. Strength means power. Bars are used to refer to the prison cell. Ignoring means paying no attention. And a concrete cell is a cage or prison made of cement and bars. Stanza 5. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The tiger remains awake till late at night. The poet says that in the night the tiger hears the sounds of the patrolling cars and the voices of the guards locking up the zoo. Patrolling cars are vehicles of guards which are used to keep a check at night. So, in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of these cars. He then stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The poet wants to say that the tiger is sad as he is confined in the cage and so he cannot do anything. Therefore, he stares from behind his bars with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars in the night that are shining freely in the sky while it is not free. Now moving on to the vocabulary. Patrolling means keeping a watch over an area by regularly moving around. Stare means to look at something for a long time. And brilliant means very bright and shiny. Now I'll tell you about the different poetic devices that have been used in this poem. The first is personification. The tiger has been personified by the poet. He refers to the tiger as he, rather than referring to it as an it, which is usually used for animals. The second is metaphor. In the first paragraph, there is the line, on pads of velvet quiet. The pads of the tiger's feet are called velvet, since both the pads as well as velvet are soft and smooth. The third poetic device used is onomatopoeia. This is used in the word snarling. Onomatopoeia is usually a word that phonetically mimics the sound of the word it describes. So when we say the word snarling, it sounds a lot like the meaning of it. The fourth is alliteration, which is the repetition of the same phonetic sounds in words close to each other. We have it over here, the per sound in plump, dear, pass, and the her sound in he hears in the fifth stanza. The next poetic device is metonymy. This is a device in which an attribute, that is a quality or a trait, or a representative is used for something else. For example, in the line, his strength behind bars, metonymy has been used. Here the word strength has been used to mean the whole body of the tiger which is behind bars because the tiger is encaged. And finally, in stanzas 1, 2, 3 and 5, the poetic device of enjambment has been used. That is, the meaning runs over from one poetic line to the next without the use of punctuation at the end of the first line. Now let us have a quick recap of the poem. This poem contrasts a tiger when it is in its natural habitat and when it is imprisoned in a zoo. The tiger moves slowly up and down in his cage. He is full of rage but is quiet in his helplessness. The poet says that the tiger should have been in the jungle. He should have been moving quietly in the shadows near some water hole and waiting for a plump deer to pass that way. He should have been terrorizing the villagers who live near the edge of the jungle. But sadly, he is locked behind bars in a concrete cell. He does not take notice of the visitors who come to the zoo. He stays awake till late, listening to the patrolling cars. He has to be content with merely looking at the stars from behind the bars of his cage.